conventionally, the key energy resource we know is oil, the crude oil, or say petroleum. We have it in Uganda. So we have that resource. That means we can extract the energy out of it also.
Yes.
We have the uranium from which we can get our nuclear energy.
Yeah.
Gas, we have it. If you have petroleum wells, then you must have gas.
Indeed.
So we have the gas. Now, that cluster of energy resource is the non-renewable energy resource which exists in our country. Therefore, when you are driving a vehicle, it means you are utilizing some energy. And in a vehicle currently, today, most of the vehicles we have in our country use either gasoline or diesel. Therefore, we are consumers of an energy resource. Mind you, the fuel we use today, we import the whole of it, 100%. And that means we are giving money to somebody anyway, out of the country. You said that when you were beginning that the fuel prices have increased
Indeed.
More than double.
Indeed.
Maybe double. In the 1970s, I have read about the oil embargo, which affected the United States. And that prompted them to establish a Department of Energy with the main aim of finding ways of how to live with the little oil which was available by then, because they had cut off the supply of oil from the Arab countries. Therefore, whenever we are faced by a challenge of energy, we are prompted to think about efficiency. Before I go into efficiency, let me explain another cluster of energy resources. That cluster is the renewable energy resource. And all the renewable energy resources are available in our country. All of them. Solar, the energy from the sun.
We have
it throughout there. Water energy, from which we get the hydroelectricity, is also abundant.
Yes.
Wind, we have it. The classical definition of wind is moving air. So air is moving everywhere above our heads.
Indeed.
Yes. Biomass.
Yeah.
Which is our primary energy resource for cooking our food we eat at home. About 96% of the food we eat, we cook from biomass. We cook using biomass. That one is abundant in our country.
Yes.
Geothermal, the energy from underground, is also abundant in our country. So basically, all the renewable energy resources we have, all the non-renewable energy resources we have apart from coal. Now, that is energy in brief. We can discuss about each energy resource in detail, maybe in another dialogue. Now, when you have energy, the other aspect is how you use the energy you have. What are those services which we need energy for? Number one, I talked about it, cooking. We need that energy to cook. You can use as much energy as you want to cook.
Yes.
But the issue is, can you be able to sustain yourself for longer than you are doing it today? That's where the element of efficiency now comes from. Because if you cook today, even 10 years from now, you need to be in position to cook. You don't want to exhaust your resource within a very short time, and then in the future you don't have energy for that same service. Another service which we need energy for is moving. You want to move from one place to another.
Yeah.
We have very many types of transport means. The most common today in our country is the road transport, where you have to use either motorcycles or vehicles, bicycles. Moving by bicycle is an old way, very ordinary. You use your energy, basically.
So today it has become a workout.
So we are talking about modern ways,
yes,
modern energy access. So I may not talk about a bicycle, but I will talk about motorcycles, I will talk about motor vehicles. But we can also move by train.
Yeah.
There is what they used to call a gari y'omukka. But today, if you call it a gari y'omukka, when it is using electricity, then you are using a wrong name.
Indeed.
Those are the different ways of moving from one place to another. They use energy. You need energy to power those equipment which facilitate your movement.
Yeah.
And today, we use fuel. Although we can also power them using electricity. Another service for which you need energy for is provision of light. During day we are blessed. We have the sun to give us the light. It is natural, nature given. God gave that light to us. So during day, we can work without an artificial light. But when it becomes dark, then you need some light from some source, which may be a bulb, it may be a candle, it can be anything that gives you light.
Yeah.
But because we know that we get light from bulbs or using bulbs, I would say bulbs. So lighting is another service. We have our colleagues who support our living by producing the things we use in our daily life.
Yeah.
The factories or industries or SMEs, they use the energy to grind the maize grains so that we can have the maize flour. They use energy to produce for us the water, to process for us the water we drink. For us, we find it in a bottle and take it, but behind that bottle of water, there was energy consumed to produce that water or to have that water processed. Another service powering our operations in offices. You wouldn't be able to switch on any equipment, be it a printer, be it the production equipment we have here.
Yes.
Maybe people may not be able to watch me if we didn't have energy.
Indeed, and the light.
And the lights.
Yeah.
Therefore, the service we are getting from that, behind it there is energy being consumed to make sure that we are able to talk to our people, to dialogue with our people. Now, where does efficiency come in? First of all, allow me to define efficiency, because I think I've talked a lot about the energy and the services.
And the services,
now,
and the sources.
Efficiency, like I said, the USA had to devise means of being able to use the little energy they had. The science or the knowledge of using as little energy as possible to do the same work, we call that efficiency. The proportion of energy you use is what is called efficiency. For you to be in position to do a certain work. So mathematically, I would say efficiency is the energy output divided by the energy you input into some process. Therefore, when you talk about efficiency, you are ideally saying, I want to use little energy to provide the same work. Let me take you back to the services. Cooking. You want to use very little energy to cook the same half kilogram of rice. If you used, for example, charcoal, which is the common energy resource for cooking in urban centers, and another person used electricity to cook the same rice, if at all one of the two uses the smallest proportion of energy, the person who uses the smallest proportion of energy is the one I call efficient. You get my point?
I totally
So
understand.
therefore, in efficiency, we are saying the reduction in the amount of energy you use to do the same service or you use to do the same amount of work. If we were to move from here to Bugolobi, if you consume 5 liters of fuel and I consume 3 liters of fuel, me who consumes 3 liters of fuel, I will say I am more efficient than you who consumed 5 liters of fuel, because we have moved the same distance. But you are using more fuel than I have used. Therefore, the idea of efficiency, we talk about efficiency when we want to refer to reduction in the amount of energy you input into a certain amount of work. We encourage everyone to do that, because if you look at how efficiency has evolved, it's because different people have been trying to find ways of using less and less energy. In the next few minutes, I will try to explain what are the benefits of being efficient. But for now, allow me to first stop there on the definition of energy and the definition of efficiency.
Indeed.
Yes.
Now, engineer, what measures as the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, what measures are you putting in place? Because earlier on you talked about SMEs, and most people in Uganda own small businesses, from the Rolex maker to the lady who is selling tomatoes at the stand. These people need to use less energy, and of course when you are energy efficient, you are saving money. Right?
Yes.
So what measures are you putting in place to help such people in a country that we are in today, where fuel is nearly 6,000 shillings?
Sure. You have again said fuel is 6,000 shillings.
It is.
I don't want to talk about money for now.
Yes.
I want us to first put it in ourselves that the energy you consume, in most cases, you don't begin with the money component of it. We usually begin with the quantity. And I usually say it as a joke that the first quality of good food is quantity.
How come, engineer?
No, because if you don't have the quantity, then I think you are lacking. You can't be satisfied if you don't have the right quantity. Therefore, that is the first quality. Then we can come back to the balanced diet and the so forth.
The spices and etc.
Yes, whether you put in spices or not,
Indeed.
etc. Now, we have had a number of programs where we have supported not only SMEs, but I think in general every Ugandan. The ministry has had a number of interventions. Before I even go to the programs we've implemented, I think I forgot to say that the energy comes to us in 3 forms. There is what we call primary energy. Primary energy is energy which you find as is, for example, firewood.
Yes.
And you use it as firewood. because it is in its original form. It is still biomass in its original form. Secondary energy is processed energy. For example, when you move from crude oil to gasoline or diesel, then the gasoline and diesel are called secondary energy resources. They are the secondary forms of crude oil. Now, when you move to electricity, that is a tertiary form of energy, because you have transformed the energy resource more than once. In order for you to get electricity, you must have transformed the energy more than once. For example, the hydroelectricity. At this end, we see electricity. But originally we had water, which water was converted into mechanical energy into rotational energy into electricity. You see that transformation more than once. So we talk about electricity as a tertiary form of energy, although it may be a critical form of energy. Now, at one point we used to hear about load shedding in our country. That means the energy we had was not enough for all of us. Therefore, it was prudent for us to do rationalization. We ration. We say David will not be getting electricity between this time and this time. I will be giving Idris electricity between this time and this time. When you start load shedding, it means the energy you have is not enough for yourself. If we are not careful, even the fuel can become too scarce that we are going to ration it. We say Central Region, you cannot get so many liters. The limit for you is so many. And that calls for efficiency. Therefore, different programs have been implemented by government. To start with, we used to have a very common bulb called the incandescent bulb.
In simple terms, the yellow?
The yellow bulb, which used a filament. I think the smallest was 100 watts. Imagine if you had 3 million bulbs when the minimum wattage is 100. When you all switch on, you would be consuming massive energy, massive electricity. We said no. With the technology, it is possible. So we first switched to the common energy savers, what we used to know as energy savers, the fluorescent lighting systems. And now we are on LED, whereby we have been able to come to as minimal as 3 watts. By the way, there is also 1 watt, but let me stop at 3 watts.
An LED?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
So if in your home today you are able to have 3 watts bulb, then that is a big achievement for us. We started slowly by giving out free bulbs. You bring the incandescent bulb, we give you the energy saver.
Engineer,
and that works.
Just to pause you a bit, you've mentioned something really important, and for the people who are watching back at home, just to simplify it a little bit, you talk about watts. 500, 100 watts now to 1 watt. For someone who is at home who buys Yaka in units, 1, 2, 3, 4 units, can you paint a picture how many watts are in 1 unit?
Wow. Now, a unit is measured in watt hours. That is, take an example. If you were carrying a jerry can, if you carry it for 30 minutes, and you don't move, you have done zero work. But if you carry it for 30 minutes and you move, then we say you have done work, and we calculate the load you moved from point A to point B. So if you remained in one place, we say no work done. Now, in the jerry can, you have water. When it is full, we can say that is a unit of water. 1 unit, 1 full jerry can. I'm using a jerry can as a synonym. Now, if you have a bulb, its capacity to give you energy is rated in watts. Is rated in watts. Just like a jerry can be rated in 5 liters, 10 liters, 20 liters. So a bulb will also be rated 3 watts, 5 watts, 10 watts, etc. So we are referring to watts as the capacity for the bulb to be powered. So whenever you switch it on, it demands that it receives 3 watts. If it lights for a certain period of time, we multiply the watts by the time it has been lighting. Those are what we call units now. So the capacity of the bulb times the time it has been on. Now, for you to be in position to collect 1 unit of electricity, which we call 1 kilowatt hour, you must have consumed 1,000 watt hours. So 1,000 watt hours is equal to 1 unit of electricity, which we say 1 kilowatt hour now. I think I'm trying to be simplistic,
it's clear,
as you may have wanted it. So 1,000 watt hours are equivalent to 1 unit of electricity. So when you buy your Yaka units, just know that in every unit you have your 1,000 watt hours. It doesn't matter how long you take to consume it. I will tell you why some consume it within a short time and some consume it for a longer time. Yes.
And probably the main point that I wanted you to simplify that aspect was driving towards energy efficiency. People need to know when they are buying these appliances.
Yeah, that was what I was coming to. So when we implemented the lighting program, many Ugandans were able to know that when I use energy savers, I use less electricity, and therefore my 10,000 can be enough for me to light my house
for a month.
Now, we moved a step further and tried to encourage people to acquire energy efficient appliances, including TVs. We had TVs with a big stomach and a big buttocks.
Yes.
Now,
the ones you used to slap whenever they're faulty.
Today, we have LED TVs on market. You can be in position to have a TV with less watts as 20, and you can watch your movies for 24 hours without noticing the change in your Yaka units.
Indeed.
When we saw it is working, we now moved a step further to SMEs and industries, who are the biggest consumers of electricity and probably other forms of energy. In industries, the biggest consumers there are lights and motors. And powering motors, it means you must have a stable electricity supply system. And we introduced a number of programs which included change from inefficient motors to efficient motors, process re-engineering, and also improving the reliability of the system. They consume what is common to them. It is called reactive energy. It is energy which does not do any work, but the industry needs it anyway.
It's redundant.
It is redundant. It doesn't do work, but it is needed. It is called reactive energy. We have been keen on that. So we introduced a power factor correction program whereby we've supported a number of SMEs to acquire those power factor correction equipment. Those equipment help them to produce that redundant energy, which they need, but it doesn't do any work.
But it has to be there.
But it has to be
So how
there.
are you helping them? Are you providing loans? Are you subsidizing taxes?
It is a mixture. We have given them grants. We don't work alone, by the way. We have friends, we have development partners who feel the pain when we are in pain. So they are in pain with us, and so they try to talk to their other friends who have provided us with financial support, which here we call grant. This support comes directly to help SMEs to be in position to facilitate the acquisition of energy efficient equipment for the different processes they may desire. And among those, I won't fail to mention the German government. So German government has been a good friend. We have had World Bank support us. We have had EU, government of Sweden, and many others who have been with us, trying to help SMEs and industries to acquire these energy efficient equipment. The other incentive we provide is free information. We provide free information for which help industries to be able to get knowledge about the different energy technologies, efficient ways of carrying out operations, etc. And the other free thing we have given, which is an incentive, is free training to the technical staff of industries. Now, those ones have supplemented on our bigger programs where we have been able to facilitate the acquisition of efficient technologies for SMEs. We are not saying that we have stopped. We will continue, to advocate for efficiency.
And on that point, Engineer, I want us to pause the conversation and just take a short break, but we shall be back with more on energy efficiency. We are going to be talking about how you at home can be more energy efficient in the use of power. And we shall be talking about why there is a need to switch to cleaner energy, and also what are the benefits. Well, just go to our social media platforms, that is on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube. Look out for NTV Uganda, and the hashtag is Clean Energy. My name is Idris Matusagawa. Let's take a short break. We shall be right back. Good afternoon and welcome back to our dialogue on efficiency energy. I am with Engineer Birumaso David, the Acting Assistant Commissioner, Minister of Energy and Mineral Development. And we are talking about the measures that government is putting in place to make sure that there is efficiency in energy use. Engineer, before the break, we talked about some of the measures that you put in place as a government, examples of using energy savers, helping SMEs to acquire the right equipment. What else are you doing?
We do more than just facilitating access, but there are passive measures or passive initiatives which we have done to make sure that SMEs get access to efficient and clean technologies. One way, one passive way, is to facilitate the analysis of the information you have at hand to find out whether you are efficient or not. And if you are not efficient, to enable you identify the different ways of being efficient. In a technical term, we say we conduct energy audits. In a simple way, I will say we help SMEs to undertake assessments in a way they use the energy so as to identify the different ways they can be efficient in their processes and in their ability to produce the different products they produce for us. So one passive way is energy assessments, where we technically support them to analyze the data they have at hand to establish whether they are efficient or not. And if they are not efficient, we find ways of being efficient. That is a passive way. We also use another approach which we call energy management. You know, when you are able to be innovative in your own process of doing work, when periodically you can be in position to determine by yourself that you need to put in place a certain measure for you to be efficient, we call that energy management. And we follow a certain standard called the Energy Management System Standard. So that is another way we have supported SMEs. That measure also facilitates an SME to have a policy in place for managing energy, be it electricity, be it fuel, or any energy an SME may have. I think in a brief, those are the two other ways or programs I hadn't mentioned before. Now, if we have put in place measures, we expect results.
Of course.
And the results, in most cases, translate into money. So we can call them benefits of being efficient. You don't be efficient for nothing. When you are driving in jam and for some reason you are held in one position for about 20 minutes
or 1 hour,
if you think fast, you will switch off your engine. We call that conservation. You don't use the energy. So switching off or denying a service is conservation. It is a form of being efficient also, although for it is a denial of service. Of course, I have noted not many of us in Kampala here switch off the engines when we are in jam. And what I would say is that by not switching off, you are doing two very dangerous things. The first one, you are draining your own pocket, and it's not good for yourself. The second one, you are harming the environment, because you are continuing to pollute without doing any work, yet you are polluting. It becomes unnecessary and irresponsible, I may say. So the first benefit is saving on money. So when you are efficient, when you use less energy to do a certain kind of work, the energy you save translates into money. And that money may be your money, it may be money to government, it may be money to your company, But the most important thing is you have saved money.
An expense.
Yes. So if you were supposed to use 20 liters of fuel and somehow you use 12, it means you have saved 8 liters of fuel. Multiply by the amount of money you need to buy a liter of fuel today. That is massive. You have saved a lot of money.
Yeah.
It is enough to take you for another day. The second benefit, which I want to talk about, is security. Energy security is something which usually we don't consider. But imagine you park your car and you have a half tank of fuel. How good would you feel? As in, you have more fuel for another function tomorrow.
Indeed.
So if you are able to secure your energy future today, then you are lucky, you are blessed. And one way of making sure that we have energy for the future is being efficient. You save energy which you can use in future times when you need it, or sometimes when it is scarce. It is usually ignored, but it is very important.
Well, I would guess sometimes when people look at some sources of energy like the sun, solar,
you think like it doesn't
it's going
exhaust.
Nowhere. I mean, it creates that
I think one time the Lake Victoria threatened to dry.
Yes.
So how good were you feeling? You were feeling bad because we had even promised some people that I will love you until Lake Victoria dries, and somehow it
and
dried.
Was about to dry.
It was about to dry, and we were about to break our promises, and that's not good. Now, the other benefit is having to do or to undertake your operations longer. And when you take your operations longer, it means you are adding on profits. If you are an SME, for example, if you carry on to produce more with the same energy but for a longer time, then you have added more kilograms of maize grain you have milled, and that is profit into your pocket. Therefore, it is linked to the first benefit, money savings, but now this one is just adding on more benefits because you have sustained your operations for longer than you could have taken. The other benefit is related to protection of our dear environment. If you let me relate this one to firewood and charcoal. If you used less firewood, it means you are cutting less of the trees. If you used less charcoal, it means you are burning less, or you are demanding less from the charcoal burner. Therefore, if you are efficient in the use of biomass, you are actually saving the environment, because one of the causes of deforestation is the need for energy. Although we cut down forests for other uses, one of the big threats is the energy we need from the biomass. It's not good to cut down a tree which would have supported your life tomorrow. And again, instead of using the tree you have cut down, you waste 50% of it. Now, why are you being too wasteful like that? First of all, you have destroyed it. Number two, you are wasting it. It's equivalent to cooking porridge and you don't take it. Now that one has reminded me, we usually cook a lot of food and we throw away some. Now, you have used the energy to cook that food. So if you throw away 50%, it means you have not thrown away not only food, but also the energy you used to prepare that food. Now, those are some of the benefits. We can add on as many as possible, but they fall in those 4 clusters of benefits of energy efficiency. I will not.
And they probably, for the benefit of our viewers,
yes,
these do not only stop at a personal level.
Exactly.
Or family, they go on to a country, national, global level.
You see, energy is just like water. I may say I am going to deny you access to water.
Yes.
But maybe underground you will not stop water from flowing into my garden, maybe. So somehow I will get the water. So when you save energy, you are not saving only yourself, that you have not spent more, but you have saved the climate. That means somebody is going to receive rainfall because you have not cut down some tree, or somebody is going to get access to another service which he wouldn't have had access to.
So there is need to have responsibility.
It is good to be responsible in the use of energy.
And engineer, that brings me to the other factor that we talked about earlier. We hinted the switch to clean energy.
Clean energy.
Yes. What are the challenges that you as a government body are facing into encouraging us to switch to clean energy, and probably how are we switching?
Now, clean energy, you have just reminded me. It is usually confused with solar. And that's not good for our brain health. Clean energy is a very big thing. So when somebody says clean energy, he means energy that comes to him or her with no emission in it. It is clean.
So
it is not dirty.
So it's the difference between renewable and
now it is different from renewable.
Yes, indeed.
So when we talk about energy, clean energy, we are saying I want that energy which does not have any kind of dirt in it. It is clean. Now, solar is one of them. It is just one way through which we get clean energy, but there are many other sources.
Yes.
Now, being efficient is also a way of utilizing clean energy, because you are getting energy but with no emissions. When you use electricity, you are using clean energy because you will not see any emission when you are using energy. Take an example, people who cook using electricity. Have you found smoke in their kitchens?
No.
You will not see anything. So clean energy is more than solar, and I think it is very good if our people understand that. The switch to clean energy. Why is it so hard for us to switch to clean energy? For example, why is it so hard for us not to use an electric train? Why is it so hard for us to say, no, I can't drive an electric car? Why is it so hard for us to say, no, I will no longer use a kerosene, the stove. I don't know how it is called exactly. But call it the paraffin stove. That stove which uses paraffin or kerosene. Now, there are many factors and challenges. But, like I said, the gari omuka used to be very common. But today when you talk about the electric train, I think it is a way of moving clean.
Yes.
But it is hard because of the infrastructure. The other day we launched electric mobility, using electricity in a bike and using electricity on cars. Cars which use electricity to move. It is a challenge because of the infrastructure. When you buy an electric car, you are worried where you will charge from. So today we have 4 chargers along Masaka Road for charging our electric bikes. So people need to trust that clean energy works. So we will try as much as possible to tell people that.
So that we embrace it.
Clean energy is very affordable, it is reliable,
and
sustainable. At least there are stories to tell that clean energy works.
And indeed, Engineer, I am so grateful for you coming here and having this wonderful conversation, but because we have run out of time, just one last word in 30 seconds before
one last word in 30 seconds. In November, the first week of November, from 31st October to 5th November, we will be having our annual Energy and Minerals Week. We will have a lot of technologies to demonstrate at Kololo Independence Grounds. More of what I have talked about will be found there. I will want to encourage Ugandans to come. In addition to the exhibition of technologies, we will have dialogue. We want to talk to our people, we want to talk to Ugandans on what can we do to address the challenge of energy. So I want to invite Ugandans to come. We will have dialogues on efficiency, dialogue on renewable energy, demonstrations on how we can do mining, a lot.
All right.
So I can't promise that Ugandans will miss.
For myself, I'll be there. Thank you so much, Engineer, for coming through and having this conversation. You at home, you can continue the conversation with the hashtag Clean Energy. Go to our social media platforms, that is on Twitter or Facebook. Look out for NTV Uganda or YouTube to catch up with what we have been discussing right here on The Talk Show. Well, for me and the team, goodbye.